Hi everyone, welcome to episode 3 of Up to 5 Minutes, where you'll learn everything you need to know about the world of real estate and mortgage lending, and hopefully sound a little bit smarter at your next cocktail party. I'm Eric Forte, a real estate agent with KW Empower in Center City, Philadelphia.
I'm Alton O'Shields, loan officer with Guaranteed Rate, also in Philadelphia. So Eric, the real estate industry is always changing, and there's a big change coming up in August. What is it, and how are we going to get there?
That's a great question, Alton. And the big changes coming up in August will affect not only real estate agents, but also buyers, sellers, and the way real estate transactions are conducted. And what we're talking about here is NAR's settlement to a class action lawsuit. Now, NAR stands for the National Association of Realtors. And back in 2019, a group of home sellers sued NAR and a bunch of real estate brokerages, challenging the compensation model for real estate agents in real estate sales. And this lawsuit has been like the 800-pound gorilla hanging from a chandelier over the industry. And in March, NAR settled the lawsuit, which will lead to changes in the ordinary and custom business practices of the real estate industry.
So like you said, this is being talked about all the time in the real estate world. What business practices are being challenged by that lawsuit?
Anyone who has bought or sold a home knows that the typical way things were done is a seller would negotiate compensation for their listing agent. And this is important to note that agent compensation has always been negotiable, and there is no set or standard industry commission rate. Now, what would happen is once the agent and the seller agreed to their compensation rate, the agent would then offer a portion of that commission to the buyer's broker. For example, Alton, if you hired me to sell your home, and let's say we agreed to the commission rate would be 10% of the purchase price, I would then share, let's say, 5% with the buyer's broker.
And what's wrong with that?
There's nothing inherently wrong with that, but, and this is a big but, what developed over time was rules and requirements that listing brokers had to offer compensation to buyer brokers. Specifically, NAR and the multiple listing services had rules in place and enforced and implemented them, requiring listing brokers to offer compensation to buyer brokers as a condition to placing that listing in the multiple listings. This was called the cooperative compensation policy. And one of the effects of this lawsuit is that policy is no longer in effect or in force.
And how's that going to affect buyers and sellers?
Well, that's to be determined. These changes will not come into play at earliest until August, but I think what it will result in is more transparency and require a deeper conversation between listing agent and the seller. The rule only prohibits listing brokers from offering compensation in the MLS. There is nothing that prohibits a seller from offering compensation to a buyer broker. So I think what we're going to see here is that buyer broker compensation is going to become another item to be negotiated during the contract phase, just like purchase price. I don't really necessarily see this as a seismic shift, but more so rearranging the order of things.
Gotcha. And I know on our end too, we're seeing VAs already making rules where buyers can now pay, or are going to be able to pay in August, their actual buyer's agent.
And that's another good point. This settlement not only affects home sellers and their agents, it also is going to affect home buyers and their agents, because there's now a requirement that buyers will need to enter into a written agreement with their agent before they can even go and look at a property. But that will need to be the topic for another video, because we just don't know the mechanics of that yet.
And do you have any other final thoughts or takeaways for this?
We're really all in wait and see mode. But in general, I think this is going to be a net positive for the real estate consumer. So I'm a big fan. My gut tells me there are going to be more dramatic changes ahead. So there'll be plenty more videos. So stay tuned. Thank you for spending up to 5 minutes of your day with us. Hopefully we educated you and you know a little bit more about the NAR settlement. And if you're interested in this topic, please make sure to stay tuned, because we're going to have a lot more information and a lot more content about it.